Hey guys, Coach Shewmake here. Look what I got. We're going to finish our book today. So this is Remember Among the Hidden. So let me tell you a little bit about what's about to happen. I'm going to make two videos. The first one I'm going to read almost to the end. And then I got a little writing assignment that I'm going to have you do. And we'll use that as one of your English language arts or reading assignments that you can score, your parents can score on the rubrics for your reading class. It'll count towards that. So it's short writing assignment, be really easy, but it'll be fun. And then I'll make another video finishing the story, and then we'll have another writing assignment that is pretty simple, allows you to be creative. Same thing, that can also count for your reading class grades on your rubric. So you'll turn those scores, your parents will turn those scores in to your classroom teacher along with the rubric grades for your math and science and social studies as well. Okay, any questions, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to explain it to you. I'm going to refresh your memory about the book. Remember, this book is about Luke. He's a third child. In the future, the government doesn't allow you to have 3 children. They've limited the population. They actually have a police force called the population police that goes around and checks houses. And if they find a third child in your family that you're not allowed to have, they take that child and they eliminate the child. Kind of a tough story, but that's what happens. And so if you have a third child, a few families accidentally did, and they would hide the third child in the attic or the basement their whole life because they didn't want the population police to take them away. Luke is one of those children. He lives on a farm, and the government decided to build a subdivision with really nice houses full of rich people that are called barons, and most of them work for the government. And so Luke really had to stay in the attic all the time. He could see out of his attic a little hole, peephole, and so he could watch this neighborhood, and he noticed that there was some movement in one of the houses when nobody was supposed to be there. He worked up a lot of courage, snuck over there, snuck into the house because he was just too curious. Lo and behold, he found another shadow child that was living in that house. The child's parents didn't know Luke was coming over. Luke's parents didn't know that he was sneaking over there because he wouldn't do it until they left for work. And the girl's name that he met there, the other shadow child, was Jen. Jen was very outgoing, and she was absolutely passionate that she was going to change the law to allow shadow children to go to school and go shopping and be able to go out of the house. And she was totally against it being illegal to be a third child. And so she was going to have a rally, and she sent messages on the internet to all the other children she could find that were shadow children, and they were going to meet at the Capitol at the president's house, hold a rally, and convince the president to change the law allowing them to live free. And so she's about to do that. Luke has told her now in the book, Luke has told her that he's too scared. He cannot go. And the night she's supposed to leave, she was pretty upset with him, but she changed her mind about being upset, and she just wanted to tell him thanks for being a good friend. I'm about to leave to go do my rally. She snuck out that night, was going to steal a car and drive all the way to Washington to the president's house. The other shadow children that she could get a hold of on the internet were going to meet her there, and they were going to have the rally. So she snuck into Luke's house to tell him goodbye in the middle of the night, and this is the conversation that they have. Luke said, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I still can't go. I just don't have it in me. I'm just too scared. There's something about having parents who were farmers, not lawyers. I don't know, I'm just not strong enough, I guess. And, not being a baron and being rich like you are, Jen. And then Luke said, it's people like you who change history, Jen. People like me, we just let things happen to us. She said, no, you're wrong. You can make things happen. It was dark in the house because she had snuck over there at night, and he could sense that she was shaking her head back and forth when she said that, even though he couldn't see her because it was so dark in his room where she had snuck up to his attic. She said, I'm sorry I didn't come over here to harp at you or get on to you. This is dangerous and no one should go unwillingly. Okay? I was too hard on you the other day. I just wanted to say that you've been a good friend and I'm really going to miss you. Luke said, but you'll be back tomorrow, the next day after the rally, and then I'll be over to visit and everything will be fine. And if your rally works, then I'll just be walking right out of my front door. It's going to be awesome, right, Jim? She said, we can hope so. And then her voice faded away, and he heard her say, goodbye, Luke. And she left. Luke laid awake the rest of the night. At first light, he got up early and he scrubbed away all the muddy footprints she had left coming up the stairs to his attic. He went down and cleaned the floor and sat on the bottom step like he always did going into the kitchen. Remember, he couldn't go into the kitchen because somebody might see him through the window, so he would just sit on the bottom step. His mom finally came in, the first one, and she said, hey, good morning, early riser, early bird, how are you doing? Were you up during the night? I heard some noise up there. Luke said, yeah, I had trouble sleeping. He was telling the truth. He hadn't slept at all. She said, are you feeling okay? He said, yeah, I'm just hungry. But when she gave him something to eat, he just picked around at his food. Finally, everybody left the house for the day, and Luke turned on the radio really quietly to listen to see if there was any news about the rally. When he saw his dad coming back towards the house, he snapped the radio off and he bolted back towards the stairs out of the kitchen. Didn't want his dad to know he was sneaking around downstairs. At lunch, his dad forgot to turn on the radio, but Luke reminded him, hey, turn on the radio. Maybe there'll be something interesting on there. So they did. Nothing interesting was on there. And then his dad went to turn the radio off after he got finished eating his sandwich to go back out into the field for the day to work on the farm. Luke said, no, wait, there might be something else interesting there. The announcer came back on and cleared his throat and said something about the government had some statistics that the alfalfa harvest this year was record-setting, but nothing about the rally. It was like that for days. Luke kept waiting desperately to hear anything, but nothing ever came. Every time his dad left the house, he'd turn on the radio and listen. He'd go to the back door and he would turn on the light to give a signal to Jen, hoping she would send him a signal that she had made it back home and he could go visit her again. But it never happened. He stared and stared, trying to will her to answer with her own signal. But there was nothing. He took to watching her house as obsessively as he had when he had first noticed her. There was no sign of her, though. He watched her family come and go. They didn't seem to be sad. They didn't seem to be happy or worried or anything. He couldn't tell anything. He got so desperate that he even asked his mom to go over there and welcome them to the neighborhood, but she was like, are you deranged? They don't want to hear from us. They're barons, remember? After a week, Luke did feel deranged because he had just been staring at their house looking for some sign of Jen that never came. Then he came up with a plan. Finally, after a week and a half after Jen left to go have the rally, a day dawned that was so clear and dry, Luke knew Dad would be in the fields all day long. Without hope, Luke turned on the light on the back door, knowing that Jen probably wasn't going to answer, and she didn't. After 5 minutes, he took off and slipped out the door. The cool air was a jolt, and for the briefest time he paused. This was more dangerous than ever. He didn't even know if she was there, but he was determined to go look. I have to know, he muttered to himself. He crept alongside the barn before making his dash for Jen's house. He had to rip the screen this time by himself and break a pane of glass on one of the windows, which he felt bad about, but it really didn't matter. He was thinking if Jen was there, she could come up with some kind of excuse. And if she wasn't there, well, he knew he'd never be back over to the Talbot's house ever again. Once inside, he knew he had to do something about the alarm. Jen had taught him how to disable the alarm, and he ran to the closet. He opened the door, and he pushed all the buttons in the order that he was supposed to push them in. Green button, blue, yellow, green button, blue button, orange button, red button, and then he hit an enter button. Is that the right sequence? He stressed about it, but he think he got it. Then he hollered, Jen, Jen. He went upstairs, then he went downstairs. It's a 3-story house. He went everywhere hollering for her. The house was enormous. Jen, come on, this isn't funny. He found all the bedrooms, the big bedrooms, huge, elegant ones with beautifully carved beds and mirrored closets. He couldn't even tell which one was Jen's, really. Finally, he admitted defeat and rushed down to the computer room. He hurried over to the keyboard and typed in the same sequence of letters that he had watched Jen type, but he was nervous and his fingers were shaking. He typed F-E-R-E. No, that's not right. Then he retyped F-E-E-R. No, that's not right either. He typed again F-R-E-E. Free. Remember that was the code word to get on the computer? Free. She came up with that. She wanted to be free. The screen went blank, and then this computer screen came up. He had watched Jen type stuff on it before, so he began to type, "Where's Jen?" He had to hold his finger with his other hand because he was shaking so hard when he pushed the enter button to send the message. He looked at the screen. Nothing came back. Then he typed something else right after that. "I have to know. Tell me." And then nothing. "Hello, is anybody there?" he typed. Still nothing. He slammed his fist down on the table so hard that it hurt. Then he heard the door to the front of the house open and shut. It was too late. He couldn't get out. And suddenly there was a voice behind him, booming, "Turn around, slowly. I have a gun. Who the heck are you? And why are you here?" He was caught. Next chapter. Luke stifled his instinct to run. He turned around as slowly as he could. He had seen guns before, but mainly the long guns like shotguns and rifles, and he noticed this one was a short gun, a small gun, a gun meant to kill people, kill humans. All that flashed through Luke's mind before he looked beyond the gun to the man that was holding it. He was tall and fleshy and kind of heavy. His expensive clothes only partially hiding his bulk. Luke had seen him from a distance before, and he knew this was Jen's dad. He looked at him and said, "You're Jen's dad." He said, "I didn't ask who I was. Who the heck are you?" He held the gun right at Luke's face. Luke exhaled slowly. "I'm a friend of Jen's. Please, I just want to know where she is." This time the man clearly relaxed his gun a little bit. Just a tad. He went behind Luke and snapped the computer off. Click. Luke said, "Jen says you have to park the hard drive before you do that." "How do you know Jen?" he said. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Luke like this. "How do you know her?" Luke blinked. The man was bargaining. He realized with him, offering to negotiate. He wanted to know what Luke knew about Jen. And Luke said, "I'm a third child, too." The man's expression didn't change. He really didn't care, it didn't seem like. "I'm a neighbor. I found out about her, and I started coming over here when I could." "How did you know she was here?" he said. "I saw..." Luke didn't want to get her in trouble or anything, but he said, "I saw lights when everybody, was gone. I guess I really wanted there to be another child there for me to meet." So Jen was careless, her dad said. Luke said, No. I was just really observant." The man nodded, only to accept Luke's answer. Then he sat down in a chair by the computer desk and he rested the gun on his leg. Luke looked relieved about that. He took it as a sign that the conversation was fixing to last longer than he thought. The man said, "Did Jen teach you how to disable our alarm system?" Luke didn't see any point in lying about it, and he said, "Yeah, but I must have screwed up since you came." The man said, "No, if you screwed up, the security guards, they would have been here. I've got it set, so if somebody disables it, it lets me know on my cell phone. That's why I came over here. I decided to investigate myself." Luke longed to ask him more questions. So he said, the man said, so what else did you and Jen do together? The man kind of sounded accusatory, like Luke was caught. Luke said, nothing. I mean, we talked a lot. She showed me the computer and she wanted me to go to the rally with her, but I was too scared. Too late. Luke thought to wonder if the man knew about the rally. It's too late to think about that now. He had blurted it out. Was Luke betraying Jen's confidence? But the man didn't seem surprised. He was studying Luke intently, just like Luke had been studying him. Why didn't you stop her? The man said. Stop Jen? That's like trying to stop the sun or something. The man looked at Luke and remembered Jen's personality. Yeah, just remember that. So where is she? Luke said. The man looked down. He said, Jen's no longer with us. Luke said, she. The man said, she's dead. And he looked down. Somehow Luke had known without wanting to know. He stumbled backwards in shock. He bumped into the couch and sagged and sat down into the couch, falling into it. No, not Jen. You're lying. His ears roared. He thought crazy things. This is a dream. It's a dream. It's a nightmare. I'll make myself wake up. Tried to picture Jen still sitting there, but he couldn't. Dead. It was impossible. The man was shaking his head helplessly. I'd give anything to have her back, he said. But it's true. I saw her. They gave us the body. You see, it's special privilege for government official. His voice was so bitter. Luke could barely listen. And we couldn't even bury her in a family plot. Couldn't take her a day off to mourn her death or anything. Couldn't tell anybody while we were going around with red eyes and an aching heart. No, we just had to pretend to be the same old family of four that we'd always been. Luke said, how? How did she die? How did she? He was thinking if it was a car wreck or something, that wouldn't be so bad or something. It wouldn't have anything to do with the rally. Maybe she just got sick. Then he looked at her and he said, they shot her. They shot all of them. All 40 kids that showed up at the rally. Gunned down right in front of the president's house. The blood flowed into the rose bushes and they had the sidewalk scrubbed before the tourists showed up for the day. So nobody would know. The government did it too. Luke stared, shaking his head, and he couldn't stop. But Jen said there would be too many people to shoot. She said there'd be thousands. Our Jen had too much faith, her daddy said. Too much faith in the bravery of her fellow hidden kids. I told her I couldn't go. I told her that I just couldn't go. It's not my fault. No, Jen's dad said, and you couldn't have stopped her either. It's not your fault. There are plenty of other people who deserve the blame. They probably would have shot 1,000 if people had showed up. They don't care. His face twisted. What? I don't understand. Why did she do this? This children's crusade. She wasn't stupid. She was a smart guy. A smart girl, her dad said. We'd been warning her about the population police all her life. Did she really think that rally would work? He looked off into the distance and thought. Luke said, yes. Yes, she did. There was something strange in Jen he couldn't quite understand that made her willing to sacrifice herself to help others, or try to. Luke said, I think at first she thought the rally would work, and then even when she wasn't sure, she still had to go. She wouldn't call it off for nothing. I talked to her about it. Jen's dad said, why? He was crying at this point. Why? Why? Did she want to die or something? What was the deal? Luke said, no, she wanted to live, not die. That was the whole point. She didn't want to hide. She wanted to live. Luke remembered her words. I don't want to hide. I want to live. Not hide. I want to live. He remembered her saying that very thing. It was echoing in his ears as he remembered her. He wanted to cry out, Jen, come back right now. But he couldn't do it. He knew it wouldn't do any good. Oh man, the daddy said, "You may not be ready to hear this, but Luke raised his head and listened half-heartedly to the dad. When you logged into that chat room just then, and you typed in that little message, a buzzer went off in a room in the population police headquarters. They're monitoring that chat room very closely. They found it after the rally, and I've managed to cover things up a little bit about Jen, but they'll trace your message back to this computer. Population police are backlogged right now following leads from the rally, so I should have a day or two to come up with a plausible sounding explanation about why this message was sent from this computer. But the fact is, they're going to come looking for you. But if they investigate too carefully, you're going to be in danger, Luke." Luke said, "More than usual?" Jen's dad took the question seriously. "Yes. They will begin actively looking for you. They'll search every house around this one. It wouldn't take them long to find you." A chill ran down Luke's spine, so he would die just like Jen, or maybe not like her. She had gone bravely. He would be caught like a mouse in its hole. Jen's dad said, "But if you let me, I can get you a fake identification card. You can be miles away before they come looking for you." Luke said, "You would do that for me? Why? Why would you do that for me?" He looked at Luke and said, "Because of Jen." Luke said, "But how would you do it?" He said, I have connections, you see." Jen's dad hesitated. He said, "I work for the population police." Okay. We're going to finish the book next time. Wait a minute. So, this is a writing assignment. Think about how you think this story is about to end. And write a small paragraph, a short paragraph about what you think is fixing to happen. Something tragic's happened now. Jen is no longer alive. She was killed tragically. What is Luke going to do with the offer from Jen's dad? Is he going to tell his parents? Is he going to run away? Is he going to try to hide? Is the population police going to actually show up? What's fixing to happen? Try to think about it. Write you a little paragraph, probably about half a page or a whole page or 2 or 3 pages if you really feel like it. See if you can come up with your own ending, and then I'll read the rest of it next time, okay? All right. All my resource kids, do your best on this, okay? We'll see you next time.